we are talking The Punisher, Season 1, a 13-part series on Netflix you can watch right now. This one, of course, stars Jon Bernthal, who you may know from The Punisher in the Daredevil Season 2 series, also Walking Dead, along with a bunch of other stuff. And I'm not going to go too much about the plot on this one. Suffice to say, this takes place after Daredevil and really tells a story of Frank's kind of looking back at his past and people that have led to his current predicament and where he is, and trying to kind of obviously get punishment for crimes against him and his family. I'm not going to talk about too much about the plot in case you haven't seen it, but I'll give my thoughts on The Punisher. Now, Netflix Marvel shows have had somewhat of a kind of downward trajectory, I would say. They started off very strong and have a bit of a backward slide, unfortunately. And when is this one? Does this one pick up? Yes and no. I feel it's more of a kind of a levelling out. I don't think it kind of is as good as, say, the early kind of like Jessica Jones and Daredevil shows, but it definitely, I would say, is maybe better than The Defenders and Iron Fist. So I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit about the characters, really. So we'll start off, obviously, with the Punisher, Jon Bernthal. Now, he is excellent in this role, and he really commits. And I think this is the main strength of the show. It's his performance. And, you know, he goes through some stuff in this series, I can tell you. And he really does feel like he is hurting both emotionally and physically in a lot of the scenes. But I've got to be honest, I feel Jon Bernthal as an actor is a little one note. You've seen him do the very kind of his character choices here and the way he presents Frank Castle. You've seen him do the same thing in other roles. So although I think he's very good in this role, it really does play to his strengths. I don't know if there's it's stuff you maybe feel like you've seen before from him. The other person I want to talk about is Micro, who you know, he's actually a character from the comics. He's changed quite heavily to what he was in the comics, and he is Frank's kind of ally in this. And I gotta say, his scenes with Frank Castle were my favourite. Now, because this is a 13-episode series, there's this, the first few episodes, there's kind of cat and mouse between these two characters, trying to kind of feel each other out. And I feel that this kind of section does drag a little bit, and you know, you kind of, you feel like you're padding your running time a bit here, because we both know these guys are going to kind of end up on the same page. And the first of 2 or 3 episodes, they just feel like they're kind of spinning their wheels a little bit, and you know, for those uninitiated, I suppose it might be interesting, but I don't know, it just felt a little bit too long to get there. But there's some really great moments, I would say, as we go through this season, of this, just these kind of like these two, not exactly friends, but these two guys, and the way they act, although it's obviously in extreme situations, they act like real blokes do with each other, I would say, like real friends, how you talk to your friends, I would suggest. Or at least a lot, it's how I kind of talk, a lot similar to how I talk to my friends. So I really did like that, and the actor does a great performance of selling you this guy who's not an action guy. You know, he's not really a guy who's physically capable, but he still is in the thick of things. So I really like that. And he has some great scenes with this kind of his extended family as well. I really like those kind of aspects of the show. We have a female character who is this government agent. She's got a lot of screen time, and I feel that they've written this character because they needed to have a female lead. And I think that her character has far too much screen time for the presence of the show she's actually here, and her contribution to the overall story. Yeah, I mean, she's written to have some important parts to it, don't get me wrong, but I just felt like I was spending more time with her than I wanted to. And the actress is, you know, it's just an okay job. I don't know, it always felt like a little bit kind of, her scenes dragged a little bit. She has kind of this partner as well who's, you know, they're kind of fun, but you just feel like you're spending a little bit too much time in these scenes. And there's another character who's like a secondary bad guy who is this kind of sort of post-traumatic stress sort of afflicted soldier who goes on a bit of a kind of a rampage as well. And my God, before we get there, those scenes, that sort of middle portion of the series, my God, it slows it down so much. We spent so much time with this guy, and yeah, I don't know, we get it, he's kind of obviously quite disturbed, but it kind of comes ahead in one episode, and it's kind of dealt with. I don't know. It's way too much time spent with that character. Then we've got Ben Barnes, who is a kind of again a character from the comics, and I kind of got to say I kind of quite liked him in this movie. And we also have another character from a military background as well. Again, pretty scary stuff. I kind of liked all that kind of conspiracy and government cover-up type stuff. I'm trying to be as vague as possible, as not to kind of say sort of spoilers here. I guess overall there's some good action sequences here, but it's not quite as action heavy as I was expecting. When you watch the trailers here, you just think it's just going to be a killing spree of violence in every movie, and it really isn't. There are definite pockets of that, but there are kind of a lot of padding in this series as well. And on a personal thing, I would say I wanted to see the Punisher deal with stuff outside of this kind of like this military conspiracy. I've always thought of the Punisher as kind of going after mob types. That's his kind of thing. I know he has got a background in the military, obviously in the comics and everything, but to me his forte has always been kind of organised crime. And there is a kind of maybe one episode where we do see some, but that's more of a Easter egg for maybe a later season, I suspect. But I would have thought, rather than having kind of like double military kind of bad guys, if that makes sense, it would have been better to maybe to have a subplot involving other types of crime as well. Because the thing is with this series is that Frank Castle is purely on a personal mission of revenge. He's not looking to correct crimes outside of that in this series. We don't really see that, apart from this kind of one instance at right at the beginning of the season. So you feel this series, although it's well made and has a very different feel to the other kind of Marvel series, it feels like a kind of just a military revenge series rather than a kind of a thing that's connected to the Marvel universe. Because that's the thing, this series doesn't feel connected at all, not even to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole, and not even to the other Netflix shows. To be honest with you, there's no crossover really at all. So it was good. I think it's probably, you could argue that Bernthal is the best Punisher, but I don't think this series was amazing. If you ask me, I don't think Netflix has still got the kind of like the upward trajectory to get back to its kind of like glory days when it kind of first started out. But it's not a step down either. So overall, I would say I enjoyed this series. It has some great action sequences. Bernthal was very good. I don't know what more he can bring to it, if I want my honest opinion, but I did enjoy it. Overall, I'll give this series a 6 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel it's essential viewing. It didn't catch me like the Daredevil and the Jessica Jones series. But it's okay, it's good. Anyway, 6 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.